Now let's talk a little bit of college basketball. North Carolina has struggled mightily this year against power conference foes. Florida, now in the top 10, one of 5 remaining undefeated teams this season at the Division I level. Jumpman Classic starts tonight in Charlotte, and Florida is a slight favorite against UNC. Joe, how do you break it down?
I like this Florida team, but my question is, Ben, is now the time to buy low on UNC here? There is nothing I can say bad about Florida except for the fact that they've played the 161st toughest schedule in college basketball, according to Ken Pom. What that means is they haven't played anybody. They certainly haven't played a lot of the North Carolinas of the world. And on the flip side, North Carolina has played one of the toughest schedules in the country. So I don't know. This feels like a possible buy low spot on North Carolina, Ben.
I would agree, Joe. When you look at UNC, they have lost all 4 games in non-conference action against power conference foes. Florida has won all of their 4, but the level of difficulty of those games slightly different. This might only be December, but it's a big Tuesday night in college hoops. We've got Big East action in a big way. We've got a matchup in Charlotte in the Jumpman Classic with a top 10 Florida team and North Carolina, and plenty more to entertain. So on this Tuesday, we welcome in Jon Rothstein, joining us on behalf of the FanDuel Sportsbook, of course, one of the best in college basketball, working with CBS Sports. Jon, as always, we appreciate your time live right here on this Tuesday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid.
Ben, happy holidays to you and your beautiful family.
Thank you very much, Jon. Right back at you, my friend. I've got a Hanukkah dinner tonight, as we'll have some great college hoops in the background. I'm sure.
Time out. What does one eat at a Hanukkah dinner?
We got some latkes. We're going to have some brisket. I think matzo ball soup. Is that okay?
Look, you and I are both proud members of the tribe, but we know as well as anybody else that members of the tribe make one thing especially well for dinner, and that's reservations.
That's very good, Jon. Wasn't sure we were going. That was very, very good. All right, let's go to a big matchup tonight in Charlotte. The Jumpman Classic with one of the 5 remaining undefeated Division I men's basketball teams on the stage tonight, welcoming in the in-state team in North Carolina. Jon, Florida, now number 7 in the country in the AP poll released yesterday. The Gators, a perfect 10-0 this year, and a 3.5-point favorite against the UNC team that already has 4 losses to its credit this season. Let's start with the game itself. How competitive do you expect tonight's tilt to be in Charlotte?
Well, really competitive because it's a matchup of elite perimeters. I think, Florida is the least appreciated team in college basketball right now. And Walter Clayton Jr., Florida's star guard, is the least appreciated player in college basketball. He's having an All-American type season. But the troika that Todd Golden possesses on the perimeter, Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, a transfer from Florida Atlantic, and Will Richard, might be the most underrated perimeter in the sport. And then you look on the other side, you have a North Carolina team whose strength is clearly on the perimeter with Elliot Cadeau, R.J. Davis, Seth Trimble, Ian Jackson, and Drake Powell. So I expect this to be a high-scoring affair, a very aesthetically pleasing game on deck tonight in Charlotte.
When you look at North Carolina, all 4 losses in the non-conference against power conference foes. Florida has 4 wins in non-conference action against power conference competition as well. UF covering as the favorite in all 4 of those games. Jon, let's keep it with Florida right now, but in the bigger picture of the SEC. When you look around the SEC, 5 of the top 7 teams in the AP poll from the Southeastern Conference, including the Gators. 7 of the top 14, 8 of the top 17 in the AP top 25, 13 of the top 50 in the net rankings. Jon, when you look at the SEC, is this the best conference in the country in college basketball?
It's not even close, Ben. And, I remember in the 2011 season, in the 2011 NCAA tournament, when the old Big East got 11 teams into the NCAA tournament, the SEC this year is going to fully take aim at that record. As you had referenced, as of yesterday, 13 of the 16 teams in the SEC are ranked in the top 50 of the net as of Monday. And the bottom of the league, Ben, is really what's so surprising. Oklahoma was picked 15th in the SEC preseason poll. Oklahoma is undefeated, 14th in the country according to the AP. I have them 10th in the Rothstein 45, and Oklahoma gets a crack at a very good Michigan team tomorrow night in Charlotte. Vanderbilt, picked dead last in the SEC, has played very good basketball under Mark Byington, who did yeoman's work last year at James Madison. The bottom of this league has been extremely capable. The SEC, no doubt, will be a double-digit bid league in 2025, and again, will take aim at the old Big East record of 11 teams in the NCAA tournament.
Quick follow-up, 10.5. If I set that as the over-under for SEC bids to the big dance, you going over or under?
Over.
I like that. They will look to make history this year in the Southeastern Conference. Oklahoma, as John alluded to, in a top 25 tilt in the Jumpman Classic tomorrow in Charlotte against number 24 Michigan. The Sooners, one of those other 5 undefeated teams still remaining at the D1 level. John, as we talk about the Big East, we'll show those conference championship odds as well. Big nights in the Big East. A lot of Big East action fully underway this week. UConn and Marquette will make their Big East debuts tomorrow. And those are still the 2 top teams in terms of the conference odds. Plus 175 for the Huskies, plus 195 for the Golden Eagles. Do those 2 clubs, John, still remain the clear favorites to win the Big East regular season title?
Yeah, I think so. I do think that St. John's is being a bit undervalued nationally, considering what the Red Storm have had happen to them in the non-conference portion of the schedule. Ben, you remember the game against Baylor and Baha Mar as well as I do. If St. John's were to close that out, if St. John's were to make free throws or Jeremy Roach misses that shot, St. John's is a top 15 team now in college basketball, but that didn't happen. St. John's, I think, a little bit undervalued going into Big East play starting tonight against against DePaul at Carnesec Arena. Marquette's been obviously outstanding under Shaka Smart. Cam Jones is a National Player of the Year candidate, and UConn has regained its mojo, has regained its form during this 4-game winning streak since the Huskies came back from Maui. Long before Dan Hurley was a 2-time national champion, he thrived in the role of challenger. The Maui Invitational this year brought Dan Hurley back to his roots. You know, it wouldn't shock me if at the end of this week, we're again looking at UConn as a runaway train. And the question, Ben, is will anybody be able to catch them? But you know as well as I do, this is only December.
It certainly is only December. St. John's at Carnesecca, 12.5-point favorite against DePaul tonight. Villanova opens up Big East play, laying 8.5 against Seton Hall. John, let me direct your attention to undefeated Drake and Ben McCullum headed to the Little Apple today to take on K-State. Is that the best game elsewhere in college hoops tonight?
Well, it's definitely one of them. You know, Ben McCullum has been a revelation after such a successful career as a Division II head coach. He's 9-0 entering tonight's game against Kansas State. And, you know, we have seen non-Division I head coaches have great success transitioning to the D1 level. Josh Schertz, who's at St. Louis now, is at Indiana State last season, is obviously the latest example. But Ben McCullum, a D2 coach, now he's at Drake. Ben, started from the bottom, now he's here.
Oh. What a catchphrase to end it, John. Thank you. More of the early line next.